Cachet the Wizard Cat by Gregory Cornille. A few years earlier, in the middle of a spring in bloom, the mother cat had just given birth to 3 cute little crumpled kittens whose eyelids were still closed. By birth order, there were 2 males and a female. The 3 kittens always seemed famished and often needed feeding. They were protected from everything where they lived, but the place was too small for the whole family. The mother was unable to choose which one to keep, so she resigned herself to part from the 3 kittens who had become far too big now. She was confident, and deep down, she knew that nothing would happen to her offspring, as they were smart and independent. As she watched them having fun, nibbling at each other's ears and tails, tears filled her eyes, and the idea of them leaving her made her unhappy. But she recalled her youth, as she too had to leave her family to venture off into new horizons. That's the way a cat's life goes. It is rare that members of a cat family spend their whole life together. Day after day, Mother Cat tactfully explained to her kittens what she expected from them. Shortly after, the 2 male kittens found a new home, adopted by nearby friendly families. However, despite her multiple attempts, the last kitten had difficulties finding a new home. She had tried living in various cozy houses, but she never felt like staying. She always found fault with something and was worried at the idea of spending her entire life in such noisy places with rather unappetizing meals. And every time, she would discreetly come back to her mother to share her roving life and miseries. "Don't worry, darling, you will end up finding the perfect place for you," Mother Cat often repeated to reassure her. They spent many days sharing their food and sleeping together, trying to avoid the master of the house, who didn't like having too many cats around him. As time went by, Mother Cat felt that her daughter was very different from the 2 others. She reminded her of her grandmother, a mysterious, silver-coated cat who was gifted as she could relieve people's pains. Strangely enough, this kitten she had given birth to a few months earlier acted just like a cat who had this gift. She shut her eyes as if to get rid of this somewhat crazy thought, and decided to go on with her life without mentioning this family secret. Indeed, this gift had caused much sufferance to the grandmother, as she was highly sought after by many people, convinced she could heal them all. They unfortunately didn't understand that many serious illnesses could not be cured. May this cat be the most gifted cat ever. Badgered from all sides, she ended up fleeing her native village, giving up on her clan and home. After days and nights walking, she found a refuge in a small town not far from here. She remained hidden most of the time and never mentioned her gift again. As a matter of fact, she only told the story at the end of her life. Time went by, and while the other siblings were happily purring, warmly curled up at home, the little kitten was roaming from hut to hut, avoiding dangerous places sometimes kept by aggressive, unwelcoming dogs. One day, her elder brother came back to greet his friends and his mother, who shared with him her concern. "My dear son, I am worried about your sister. For the past 2 winters, she has been wandering around in the neighborhood, begging for food from house to house. She is causing me a great deal of sorrow. Her fur is dull, and her skinniness makes her look unhealthy." After having reassured his mother, he decided to go off to look for a pleasant place for his sister, so that she doesn't spend a 3rd winter outside. He thought that she deserved better than that, because despite her timidity, she is so very gentle. A few hours later, after a nap in the shade of a shrub, the cat held his promise and set off to find a home for his sister. He went down many paths and scrutinized every bit of them. This was not an easy job, as many shutters were closed because the people were on holidays. The summer heat was oppressive, so he stopped by a river to drink. The water was crystal clear and cold, and he took his time, observing the insects fluttering about above him. In normal circumstances, he would have enjoyed trying to catch a few, but right now he had other fish to fry. He licked his paws to cool them down a bit and resumed his walk. Suddenly, he heard a noise. Raised voices of children happily playing outside. Slowly, he walked up to them and hid under a clump to observe without being noticed. "Let's see," he whispered. He looked all around him and stared at the 2 little girls splashing water in the swimming pool. It was rather noisy, the sort of rumpus he did not enjoy a single bit. They finished by calming down and were now eating a chocolate and vanilla ice cream, settled in a deck chair under a leafy walnut tree. They seemed to have calmed down after so much agitation. Was this the right moment to try coming closer? He must meet the 2 little girls to make sure that the place is safe for his little sister. The sun was very hot, and the sound of a cricket chirping away not far peacefully helped our explorer to fall asleep. But the nap didn't last for long. A little agitated, loud barking dog had sniffed him from afar and was galloping up to him. The cat jumped out of his skin, and his fur was ruffled up from head to tail. On the spur of the moment, he climbed onto the fence between him and the children and jumped down 2 meters below on the grass, near the swimming pool where the 2 little girls were playing earlier. Alerted by the yappy little dog, the girls shouted out with joy, "Mummy, Daddy, come and look! There is a cat in our garden! Oh, he is so beautiful!" At first, the cat was on his guard, but he quickly understood that he lorded it over everyone. There was no doubt that the people were nice here. Slowly, he got himself together again and calmed down, seeing the next door huffing and puffing dog heading straight to a piece of shade. What a relief, he thought. The dog could have bitten him and possibly seriously harmed him, but his feline reflexes allowed him to come out of it without a scratch. The parents were surprised to see how the cat was at ease, comfortably settled on one of their daughter's lap. A little later, he enjoyed the coolness of dusk, spread out on the terrace tiled floor. "Mummy, Mummy, can we keep the cat with us?" Mummy replied that she wasn't against the idea, but only if Daddy also agreed. "Daddy, Daddy, can we keep the cat with us?" the girls repeated together. "You know, girls, it is not only about wanting to keep him. How strong your wish may be, he will be the only one to decide whether he wants to stay with us. We cannot force him against his will." The daughters took in what their daddy said, but they didn't want to let the matter rest there. They constantly pampered the cat to incite him to stay with them. They prepared many meals and a special beverage for him. A subtle mix of cold water and milk. In fact, the cat had far more to eat and drink than what he actually needed. Little by little, the cat started living the life of Riley till the day he decided to settle in the place. While his sister was still looking for a decent place to live, he settled here for some time in order to fully appreciate these people's warm hospitality. A few hours later, the people he had just adopted named him Cutchy. They had also prepared his wicker basket, hastily bought for him, with a nice little soft cushion. Cutchy couldn't complain about the food either, as they had given in to all his wishes. Fish and meat dry cat food with little vegetables. No, definitely, everything was perfect. The place and the food were perfect, and he remained as free as before, coming and going at any time of the day or of the night. All he needed to do was to meow 3 or 4 times for someone to come and help him. Days and weeks went by following the seasons. From time to time, to pull himself out of long hours of drowsiness, Cutchy would capture a mouse, a bird or a lizard to be congratulated. The girls were sad to see these little dead animals in front of their door, but they loved their cat so much that they forgave these sad hunting trophies. "He is showing us that he can capture animals, and he is giving them to us to thank us for our hospitality," the mummy explained to her daughters. When winter arrived, he settled closer to the chimney, hoping that his sister had ended up finding a home. He hadn't heard from her for many months, and he was worried. He started thinking about her again, imagining her skinny and famished, shivering in a sordid and damp place. He thought that as soon as spring would arrive, he'd go and see his mother to find out more about his sister. And after this thought, he closed his eyes to enjoy the girl's strokes and started to purr happily. He sighed and gently entered the world of Hypnus and Morpheus. End of the first episode.